Everybody, this is the soybean planting considerations for optimizing yield potential with Dr. Trent Irby, and I'm Justin George, and I'm going to be doing 2018 soybean production for the Mississippi Delta. In my perspective, as you walked in, there's a CCA sign-up sheet here in the back. You may have hit it already if you need it. If you didn't, get it on the way out. As I said, I'm Justin George. I'm from Marigold, Mississippi. I'm the central part of the Mississippi Delta, Bolivar, Sunflower County, but I do go all the way up to I-69. Licensed consultant, as you see there, certified crop advisor, and member of our MACA in Mississippi. Slide. It's going to be a big review of just how we did things in 2018. There's going to be a lot of changes for 2019 based on soil conditions. As we got into the crop, when we started, we were 90% clean, stale seed beds. Most all that goes back to the fall residuals we used. We were able to use in fall of 2017. It was a good fall to get things put out. Farmers chose to use Valor. Industry was pushing pretty good, and that was good. They did a lot of boundary, or sometimes they made their own dual, and Metrobuzz made their own boundary. We had a lot of lead-off that went out too. I mistakenly left that off there. If we didn't get our fall residuals out, we came with an early spring burn down. And by spring burn down, some of that started the day after Christmas. It was kind of a warmer year. It was dry in November, December 17, so we had a lot of weeds up. And that's just a typical burn down for us right there. That continued on through the end of February. A lot of guys would kind of make the decision, well, it looks pretty clean right now, so I'm not going to burn down. I'm going to try to wait closer to planting. Well, you get over into March, and you realize, oh, here come the weeds, And so we do a lot of Vermoxone fierce at that time of year. Maybe some Vermoxone boundary pre-plant, but for the most part, I do like the fierce. I feel like it gives me 45 days even going into planting. And I'm comfortable, real comfortable with it before the planter. I'm a little bit nervous about it right behind the planter, or once it's been planted. Our part of the world, we've got a lot of 38-inch rows, 15-inch narrow rows, and 30-inch rows. Those 15-inch narrow rows might be on a wide bed. We got guys on 60-inch beds, 76-inch beds, and just drag it across of it. With their old and narrow row planters, they do a really good job. Our typical seed rate right there, 125 to 150. We'll push that with the narrow rows and some of the twin row guys. Early planters, we might bump even over 150 if it's heavy ground, kind of planted early, and just kind of trying to tweak the yield a little bit there. For 2018, we were cooler and wetter than we were in 17, than we have been for a while. We'd like to start planting April 10th, and we'd like to be finished April 25th. But this year, we were delayed, and so that's what that first planting window is about. That's what the first guys could get in, for the most part, the 18th to the 21st. They got a few hundred acres planted, perform, and then we had a pretty big rain delay, and just really squashed that April 25th sweet spot we like to be in, or so we thought. And people picked back up about the 29th. We planted through mostly the 10th. It didn't take long to get it done. So you need about enough equipment to plant your whole crop in 10 days. That's about what they did. There was a percentage of acres were planted after that as you go basically north of the Delta, where they get a little bit slower start than we do in the central Delta. But for the most part, I didn't have any late beans, nothing June 15th, no wheat beans. All my real good production beans were planted there by the 10th. We were heavy on 46X6s this year. That was probably 50% of the acres in my part of the world. A lot of 47X6s are still a good variety for us. That might have been 10 to 15% of our acres. Progeny, that 4816 and its counterparts, they came on pretty strong this year, and honestly really did well in the end. And a lot of Great Heart 4540s and just Great Hearts. They've got traction in our area, and they do really good. Like I said, at planting, getting to planting, we're coming behind the planter with Vermoxone, most time a boundary. We do use a fair amount of tri-events, and I like to use Authority Elite when I can. Most of the time, guys are chasing the planters with the sprayers. Where we can, we try to get the sprayer in front of the planter, but it's just rare that it all works out. The planter's already running, the farmer doesn't want to make a rut. Sometimes we think that rut's going to make a mistake planting-wise, but and then a lot of times it doesn't. If it's ready to plant, some of these fat tire sprayers, they don't mush down the bed, they don't chew it up too bad on the ends. And And I would like the satisfaction knowing it's been sprayed. That's not going to do it. That's an example that we sprayed first. It didn't get the plant. The guy got rained out. But you see the level of pressure we got there. And that's, if he would have planted into that and not gotten that sprayed, you know, he'd been real glad of where he sprayed versus where he didn't. In the end, he came back to see those other tracks. He was going to clean it up and plant it. And in the end, he just sprayed and never got around to planting it anyway. Real salty, and chisel plowed that gumbo the fall before, and he really wasn't able to get back in on it. So anyway, we're basically 95% successful with getting our pre-emerge out, and I think that's just a huge deal. That was a big success. Our farmers have really, you know, woke up to the fact that it's just unacceptable to not get that pre-emerge chemical out there. Even where, you know, Mississippi, we've got dicamba, but we still wanted the pre-emerge out there. Because we're going to have enough breakthrough afterwards anyway. That pre-emerge will last us 21 to 30 days, you know, and after that we really want to be spraying. But increased spray capacity is critical. I don't know how we used to get it all done with a little hood here and a 12-row boom there and an 8-row boom here. You know, we've got multiple, I've got 4 farms that have more than 2 90-foot booms, and it's still a battle to get it all done. And almost everybody's got one big dedicated spray tractor. I've got one farm, they've gone back to put the boom behind the planter, attached to the planter, and that's a pretty good deal too, because I mean, once it's planted, it's sprayed, you can sign off on it, you may come back around and spray some edges, but at least when that planter leaves the field, you know it's been sprayed. I really like that. So we had great emergence overall. Like I say, the delayed planting date, you know, having waited April 29th to May 10th, you know, April was cool and May was really warm. So our planting scenario was a lot better. Everything came up and got going. It got warm. It really got dry, honestly, in May. But we had time enough to get the seed in the ground, get it up before it dried out. So we had great emergence overall. See, right there, that's level of pigweed. That's planted into, and it did get sprayed after the fact. But I mean, that's if you don't get that sprayed, it's a grown-up mess. So about 21 days after we're planting, we're trying to get that usually a Roundup dicamba shot with an outlook dual residual. We're 98% dicamba beans in my part of the world. We got a little bit of Liberty Link and a little bit of Roundup Ready, but the guys that planted any Roundup for Liberty in 17, everybody honestly got smoked with dicamba drift, and so they pushed, they fell into the dicamba mode of action. Those are my tomato plants in my garden, something on those. And so that happens. And this is something that I talked to Trent about a lot, Jason Bond about a lot. You know, these were, when that was sprayed, you know, these beans weren't that big. That's a twin row. That's a 4729 Great Heart. We're leaving a lot of grass. That's sprayed with Roundup dicamba, 10 gallons of water, ground rig, but the dicamba tips. I don't know. They say it's not resistant. It's got a little touch of glyphosate on it, but it's not killing the grass. And that's a big problem. That's going to rice this year. And it's already hard to kill grass in a rice field.
What grass do you primarily find?
That's
I was going to say barnyard grass is too.
And it's, you know, it's a whole nother subject. But it's, you know, grass doesn't work. Richmond has a hard time working. Clearpath doesn't like it. It hadn't seen Lloyd, but I mean, I know that after this year, it's not going to be the salvo. You know, fast command on the front end, fast and prowl. You know, try to keep it from coming. Get a flood on it quick. It's going to be the plan of action. It's not going to be Clearfield rights either. So anyway, that's a big deal. I think that's, and I think we talked about that, Jason and I, and Trent and I. You know, we went from 2 shots of Roundup in season mentality to a pre-emerge followed by a Roundup prefix mentality, and maybe another Roundup. But with dicamba, it's kind of a little false insecurity. They're focused on pigweeds, but don't forget the grass. You know, we got pre-emerge out there to do one Roundup dicamba, and we're not coming back. They don't want to come back with that other shot of Roundup, and so that's why we're leaving a lot of grass, in my opinion. So instead of 2 in-season shots of glyphosate, we're getting 1, and we don't come back to clean up the misses. So all that seeded out, and like I say, it's on my rice field. I don't like it. I told them, but they couldn't get back in there. It got wet. They started laying polypipe. You know, having it dry, they laid polypipe. Beans were big. It's time to water, and they forgot about it. Out of sight, out of mind. Until next year. All right, moving off of herbicides. In-season management for us, you know, like I said, we were dry in May. We got dry quicker earlier, and some people panicked. And it's understandable. You miss an 80% chance of rain, followed by an 80% chance of rain, and then you know, you don't want to water too soon. We are dialed into moisture management, and you know, everybody's got a weather app on their phone, and you know, you feel like every time you miss a chance of rain, you get closer to the next time when it's going to rain. But we still had to irrigate a little bit earlier. For the most part, we started 3 to 5 irrigations this summer. Most of them were interrupted by rain at some point during on the farm. If it takes 2 weeks to get around, you know, it was hard to go 2 weeks this summer and not get rained on. And then after end of July, particularly, I think it's August 11th, it started raining and just almost didn't quit intermittently. Insect-wise for soybeans in Mississippi, my part of the world this year, it was quiet, and that was nice. Farmers didn't need any extra sprays after 17. You know, we had the red bands for the first time and all over the Delta. In 17, we thought we'd have them again because we thought we had a seed bank. They just really didn't show up, so that was great. Planting date for me, let me go right here too though. So we didn't have any stink bugs, no red bands. Pod feeding worms, you know, that's all boll worms and a sweep net. I sweep a good bit. I like the shake beans when they're bigger. I just feel more satisfied when I look on the shake cloth and I've shook them down. I feel like I get a better count personally. You know, Mississippi State and Arkansas's thresholds are what they are, but I'm going to be a little bit more conservative. You know, if I get 3 on a shake cloth, you know, I'm about ready to spray. Because they just eat, you know, they eat the pods, they eat the blooms. It's, you know, after they fed, it's over with, so I don't give them a lot of chance. But planting date for me is a big thing. You know, year in, year out, before May 10th, we almost don't have to treat. You know, I don't know why we don't focus on plant date a little bit more as far as the life cycle of insects and everything. I guess we do, but we don't preach it in IPM too much. But, you know, this year, around May 8th, May 9th, May 10th, we had some teetering borderline thresholds, and they did get treated pretty much with a Prevathon or Besiege type product. These guys right here, even if they got a fungicide shot at R3, we didn't have to have a pyrethroid in there for any good reason. Some farmers still like to add it. They're buying generic. They said it only costs $2. If they're satisfied with it, I'll let it roll. I can't stop it anyway. Or I could talk them out of it. They're convinced they like it, so we let it roll. But right here, you know, you had a bollworm shot, and then you get to that late season looper, stink bug / bollworm complex again. And I'm afraid, Trent and I have been talking about that. You know, going back to the earlier slide, we were 90% stale seed bed, 10% had to work. This year, we're not 10% stale seed bed. We got to work everything. It's going to be a late plant day, and that's just going to be a booger because if we all plant them all right there, we bought ourselves at least 1 spray, if not 2. And like you and I were talking about, your freshly worked beds, you know, your pre-emerge. It's not going to work great, even if it gets activated. Oxygen get in the beds. Said the beds look like a chia pet with the pigweeds coming out of grass. Still a flush, but you know, what about that next flush? So that's what we're up against this upcoming year. That's potato leaf hoppers. We had a lot of hopper burn this year. They're preaching it's not a big deal, but you know, farmer thought, you know, that's dicamba soybeans. It's not dicamba, it's just a hopper. All right, so harvest, those April 17th, 18th, 19th, 21st beans, you know, they're getting ready 1st of September. We're spraying the harvest dates, getting ready. This was the first picture of the first field that had a cut this year, a big grower. took a picture of it, sent it to me. All my beans gonna look like this? I sure hope not. And they didn't all look like that, but there was a bunch of damage from Mississippi Delta. And it was sporadic. Couldn't really predict it. It seemed like it was more on the lighter soil. Heavy ground seemed to have been in better shape damage-wise. Across varieties, I do have a variety in mind that seemed like it had more damage on the whole. And then it's very difficult to harvest. We were still cutting beans after Thanksgiving, which is unusual for us. They had 10 and 12 and 14-day delays, 6 inches of rain on the bean. Believe it or not, some of those beans didn't have damage. They've been out there for 2 weeks, through 2 weeks of wet weather, had been ready for 3 weeks to harvest, and they come back with 2% damage. I couldn't make sense of that. Maybe it's the variety, maybe it's the environment, but the environment was terrible, I would have thought, but it was cool. From the beginning, we had high yields, really high yields, but some people are satisfied with 90 bushels and 12% damage on a variety, and then where another man with 83 bushels and 16% damage, he's not going to plant that bean again. What was our state average on that yield this year? What did we do?
Prediction was 53 bushels.
What's our?
That's our record.
53 would be our record. Yeah, all the beans, we vary from dry land, non-irrigated, probably 32 bushels sometimes and lower, to top end. You do see a lot of triple digits. Field averages of 80. It's not uncommon on the guys that have done everything right, like plant date, fertility is good.
Was there any correlation to maturity groups on the damage?
For me, the little bit 8 to 4.8 did not have the damage as bad as 4.5, 4.6. 4.6 is kind of hammer, which we had a lot of 4.6, as I said on the front end. Had them planted early. People that will still plant them this year are going to choose to plant them a little bit later. Of course, every year is different, but that's based on what they did for them, in 2018. They think if we'd have planted them May 5th, it'd have been better. Probably would have been. And so those 4.8s got planted that a little bit later, winter, that May 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. And everything was harvested in equally suboptimal times and set in the field for 3 weeks. Some with harvest dates, some with not. In the green environment, I'm on the side of harvest date every chance I can get to put it out, because that way you open up that harvest window on the front end a little bit, give yourself a few more days to get out before it does get wet, and you get rid of all that green matter, all that cloudy, shady environment where bad things seem to happen. But we had damage where we had sprayed, where we hadn't sprayed. So, and I don't know. This did not have a fungicide, but I don't think it would matter whatsoever. Right across the road, same variety with fungicide, it looked just like that. The guy moved 3 miles down the road, some heavy ground, 2% damage. I think this was 12%. He's probably lucky to only be 12. All right, we'll talk about some trends, just what I see in my area. What's happened over even the last 10 years, 5 years. We're rolling up some configuration. Central Delta is right here. I really like that 60-inch bed. That's not bad. It's low tillage. You can drag a 10-inch plant across that 15-inch, 30-inch. A lot of twin row 38s in our area. It's probably my favorite configuration. North Delta is a lot of 30-inch rows. It's hard for everybody to get that right. People tend to farm like their neighbors, and that's what everybody's got bought into. And good wide planters, and that's the John Deere planters. They like those. They'll do a good job. Sometimes we have a hard time staying on the bed. People are getting better and better about that. This right here, it wasn't that long ago, bean is a bean mentality was a prominent, but now that's kind of past. Everybody's trying to dial into what's best for them. And people are willing to do on-farm trials, plots. This is my opinion. You still need a long-term workhorse variety. There's been a company that used to have a really good soybean, and we're always trying to bring forth this next best bean. And this next best bean wouldn't be as good as the old bean. So they give you another one, and that wouldn't be as good as the old bean. And they go down that road for 5 or 6 years and still trying to beat the old variety. Well, let's stay here for a minute. Give me 3 or 4 seasons with a good workhorse variety. And 4632 was really, really good for us. And people got real comfortable with it. The B73 was really good. The T36s were really good. And we the dicamba system, trying to figure out what's right. And thought we had it figured out for 4686, but it stung us pretty hard this year. We felt like there's still gonna be a bunch of them planted. And that one really flopped. And this year we just had a lot of damage. Trent's gonna show you probably the damage across varieties based on whatever environment or planting date or held your mouth wrong. This right here, we bought into this for the most part. 50% of folks are really paying attention. They want to keep the farm clean. You don't always get to do these fall residuals right. We talk about it, but when people are out of money at the end of the year, it doesn't happen. If you're going to try to use a ground rig and it rains you out, and you don't want to pay the plane, next thing you know, you're into this right here. This is the cheapest route to go. This right here, I do worry about it. It can cause erosion, and beds can wash a little bit. It's so good sometimes. But at least you know you're not growing up, and you don't have to pay that plane when there's weed around you or a neighborhood you're not trying to not get ripped on. That's happening for everybody. We've got sprayers, we've got 90-foot booms. We're chasing planters, we're spraying in front of the planter either or. We still do a fair amount around the fix. So all this, and then in harvest aid, it's not just for the soybeans. You're desiccating a lot of pigweeds that time of year, smoking some grass. If you're in harvest mode and you don't get to come back to that field for 2 or 3 weeks to do any tillage, at least it's dry and brown when you come back to it. Or, you bought yourself 3 to 4 weeks until you get back to it. Irrigation, I didn't talk much about that. There's a lot of irrigation talks here this the next 2 days. But lots of moisture sensors, that's coming through the NRCS. The farmers are choosing to use them. And I've chosen I put down a lot of them just as a tool, whether or not the farmer pays me back for them or not, or I just like to have them out there. It gives us a feel for what's going on. A lot of pipe planter in our part of the world, probably more than that. I don't know what the number, maybe higher than that now. As far as actually utilizing it and really laying pipe based on the maps, and that's probably a right number on some of the younger farms, I guess. And but like this year, we were wet in places, and all the sensors that you could have never triggered irrigation too wet, and we had ridiculously high yields. You just said it was too wet. And like I say, every year is different. We hadn't really had a good dry year since we started with the moisture sensors in my part of the world. When they first came out, and Jason Creeks was doing all his good work, we didn't have to water but 1.5 times that year. So I told him, I said, man, we need a dry year to really test all this. Of course, heavy ground versus light soil. It's I guess we're getting to the point now, and that's what some of these talks are about here today. We're 4 or 5 years down the road on moisture sensors. The data set should be getting conclusive. All our seeds have seed treatment. You see very little yellow beans planted anymore. I really like seed treatments. We don't replant anything like we used to. Of course, that beds help you on that too, but seed treatments are really valuable. Potworm's still my #1 insect. Loopers, I call them heartbreakers because at the end of the year, people are out of money. They don't want to deal with it, don't want to think about it. But you can't let them sit there and eat you up either. I said that earlier. For me, I like plant date for yield and to help avoid the insects. And you can, from my part of the world, you can circle that date on the calendar. Anything after that, you're pretty much going to spray anything before it. You may not have to. Likely won't have to. A lot more fertility talk. Bobby Gold will be great for us in Mississippi, helping to slow down on the focus on fertility. This is real. People are seeing this. I've seen dialed-in yield monitors, and I know that's not what we get paid on. But, 126 bushels riding through the field. It really can't happen. I wish you tried to find ways to replicate that. What did we do right? If anything's missing right here, it's hard to expect that right there. At this time, I don't think our university data and our labs, they don't seem to line up. Some of these labs will be calling for 400 pounds of product, and the farmer can't afford that. And some of this data was based on 50 bushel yield goals, 60 bushel. what about this? It seemed like you have to go over the top of fertility to make this happen. And, I wish there was more science to that than just theory. And like I say, harvest day has been really widely adopted, but that last line, you know, people, dicamba's getting such a bad rap, but man, this right here is pretty tough. What's happening in the fall, cypress trees, pine trees, landscape. So we gotta be careful. People are watching and paying more and more attention. And that's me.
What about nematodes? Did you have nematodes or seed treatments?
I don't think our seed treatments are doing it. We're not overly focused on nematodes. We don't feel like we're getting much pullback in our soybeans on it. I've got a farm, we did some trials 2 years ago, and bless their hearts, when they try to get good data, things don't always go well. You know, we got a sand failure where the nematode trials, and we really had high numbers, as high as the university had ever seen, but it's been exactly inconclusive. I'm gonna have to rely on industry and university to tell us what to do there next. Anybody else?